We just beat them last week. We're gonna beat them again.
Yeah, that was just
That's what we were supposed to do. You can say it, Mark. That's what we were supposed to do.
supposed to be.
Supposed to beat themselves.
What we supposed to do?
Yeah. Hey, but Hughes, I'll give you the boy from Duke. I'll give you the boy from Duke and two first rounders for Bradley Bill. RJ
Okay.
Barrett. I'll give you RJ Barrett. I'll give you RJ Barrett, and I give you that backup center and a first round pick and a second round pick for Bradley Bill. We
I
get
take
Bradley
it.
Bill, that's over the top.
I'll take it. Okay. Hey everybody. We are finally back after a while being gone, but we've missed y'all as much as y'all missed us. So today we just had a couple topics that we wanted to discuss that was just out of this world because sports, we love it, but sometimes athletes and the people that they associate themselves with can really stir up a lot of different conversations. So our main topics today that we're going to discuss is the company that you keep in the professional athlete world and dealing with basketball, football, and in general. So I'm gonna go ahead and open it up. Well, the biggest reason why we're talking about is the John Morant situation. To be honest, we was having a conversation before we went live, and we were talking about certain ways of how you're supposed to present yourself when you're in the new atmosphere of making money. And I think with John Morant, he's still young. The people he's around are trying to prove their loyalty to him, from what I'm seeing, and it's really just not a good image for somebody who has so much potential to be the most dominant star in the league to have people who he grew up with or around him bring him back down to that level that they're at, knowing that he's on a different level. But to me, I just think that, if you have people like that, you kind of need to separate them from those who actually want to see you continue to be successful and be at what you're at. Or I would say, if you do keep them, then, just let them know the do's and don'ts of being in my circle when it comes to me, dealing with certain people or being in an atmosphere that people spend money in. That's just how I look at it. Because athletes are always having the limelight on them, so you don't know what's going to happen to where you got to be careful in certain situations that you do. So I'll let you guys open up. What do you guys think about that as far as like how he presented himself in those two situations, the one with the 17-year-old boy and then the one he had with the gun on the side of his head? I mean, it's like,
Well, I just think
There you go. Yeah, come
with
on, you open
everything.
it up. Open it up.
Go ahead, King.
No. Open it up. Open it
hey,
up.
I just feel like, man, everything don't go to the top with him, and I think it's gonna be some things that come out from people from maybe from his past that are going to enlighten everybody on this type of behavior and thinking is probably not new. It might be on a whole nother level now because of the money situation he's in and the people that have jumped on board with him in Memphis. But it doesn't make sense to me. When you think about Allen Iverson, King, one could say, well, when he got into the fight at the bowling alley, it's some racist people in Virginia Beach. So you could kind of see how he may have gotten caught up in that fight or whatever. And then, Allen Iverson, the people that he was running with, I mean, he kind of was in the life before he got to Georgetown. So with John Morant, it doesn't make sense.
Well, Hugh, let me ask this. Do you think, because Virginia Beach is not that far from DC, do you think Big John Thompson cut that off? Like, don't bring them cats up here.
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely. Most
Now,
definitely.
is that? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I said definitely.
So, is that quote unquote parental guidance, or is that what the kids say, Marlon, doing too much?
I don't think it's doing too much. I think it is doing the right thing because you got to think about it. If you're making those millions and you're an athlete and you got what endorsements, what you get signing bonuses, and you get I think it's what a time thing too from what I'm reading. So all those things you have to keep an account of, when it comes to making this money. So if you got people who are derailing you from making certain deadlines or being the face of certain brands or companies because of certain situations or because of the temper, I think that they need to be cut off, because if they're not the ones that's going to help you make the money or continue to add to it, or to make sure that are growing it, then I think that they need to be pushed to the side. You know what I'm saying? That's how I look at it. It's the same thing with family, King, because you know how it comes when you got family and you making millions and your family looking at you differently now, instead of as this person you grew up with. Now they're a cash cow, so now they know they can go to you when they need something, and in order for them to do that, they got to prove that they're loyal to you. And that's how I was kind of basing it off of, because it just doesn't make any sense. Like Hughes was saying earlier, it's just, to me, it's just like, what, he's 24, 25. You still got enough, about a good 10 to 12 years left to play, well enough to be, one of those guys in the league. So don't throw it away over a gun charge and the domestic violence. I mean, I understand the area he's from, Tennessee. We've heard everything about Tennessee there is to hear. So
Listen,
I understand that.
let me tell you, Marlon. My whole family's from Memphis 10. Memphis 10 gets down.
See, so you're right. So see, I don't know
There is
that, King. So,
no okay, pass. This, that. No. Memphis 10 gets down. I mean, they shoot their own. The young little rappers who done got killed in Memphis. But I'm glad you said something about they can add to you. I listened to Jalen Rose. Jalen Rose said something that really resonated with me. He said, man, let's look at it mathematically. You have people that can add to what you're doing. You have people that can subtract from what you're doing. You have people that can multiply what you're doing. And then you have people that can divide the whole group. It's mathematical. And he was honest about it. He said, man, I didn't understand that coming up. So my concern is, do you learn from this? Or does Memphis 10 have you on edge to where you think you need to ride around with this gun?
But like you said, though, King, but that atmosphere he's in, is it always going to be like that, even though he's making millions with, what he's doing?
But Marlon, NBA contracts are guaranteed.
Yeah.
Now, granted, you're not multiplying your money because of this foolishness. Somebody told me Nike was about to come out with a Ja Morant shoe or whatever.
Yeah, they did say that. They said last week they said that, and now they put it on pause.
So now, and it's hard for me to blame the people that you hang with, because you ultimately get to make the decision. But in the same sense, is everybody around you is doing foolishness. Birds of a feather flock together. So even if that's not who you are as a person, you might try to act like that as a person so you can quote unquote, fit in with this group. And clearly they are subtracting from what you can make. And there had to be division between him and these people. I love Hughes to death, but Hughes ain't gonna cost me no money.
Exactly. It's the same. So do you think King, like, he should have, like, I guess you could say, because you know how they have the NBA Players Association thing. I think, in my thing, that they should have a type of meeting or discussion, like, every now and then. I'm not saying that has to be mandatory, but if they want to come, they can do it, just to kind of, help the younger players who are dealing with foolishness like this, to say, hey, we've been in your shoes before. Like I said, if you keep going this way, you ain't gonna be the guy that everybody is watching and seeing. You're gonna be the guy that's on these streets, trying to figure out what to do next and how to get your next meal. You know what I'm saying?
I think the NFL kind of got it right with that little symposium they had with all the before they get drafted. all the cats who might get drafted, and they have people come speak to them about what they are going to walk
Yeah, and I think
into
the
and
NBA
what-
should do that too, because like I said, with Chris Paul and those guys being the president of the association, I think I'm not saying if it's voluntary, but I just think if you're gonna be in the league and you're gonna be this successful, you're always gonna be in the limelight, and you always gonna have to have guidance to know which way to go to continue to strive for success, because it's one thing if you have a parent there who's cheering for you and talking crap, and that's fine because that's competition, that's part of the game. But it's another to have an entourage sitting outside with guns in their car waiting for you to lead a game as soon as you get done. To me, that's just a bad look, especially for kids who.
Too hard. He fired you too hard. He shouldn't have did that. But I'm like, hold on, man. Hold on. I mean, but back to my point. I think that NFL symposium for these prospective draft choices, I think it's mandatory. I think it's a part of like the combine or something.
Yeah, I
But
think
there has to be space for the conversation about, listen, young man, this is what you're about to walk into. Don't be dumb, because we were dumb. And this is what happened. X number of players end up broke. X number of players end up with charges. X number of players didn't get their guaranteed money because of A, B, C, and D. So I think it should be mandatory, because you are trying to save people, not only from themselves, but from their friends and family.
Hey, King.
Yes, sir.
They had to do him like which Jerry Jones did Dez Bryant.
He had Calvin Hill. Man, not necessarily follow him and watch him, but man, mentor him. Because he is going to mess this up. Like I think he slapped the hat off his mama's head or something, or he hit his sister's. No, we don't know.
But see, I think they should have a law in the contract, and it's just my opinion, that says that certain athletes or athletes in general shouldn't even carry firearms. Like somebody in their group or their security can have it, but I just don't think them personally should be walking around carrying a firearm and they're making that much money.
The Second Amendment is not going to let you do that, because
I know
you have the right to carry a firearm. And look, in the state of Florida, you can carry it on your hip.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But
and in Texas, you can literally carry your gun into the Walmart with on your hip.
So I'm with you, but I think, King, they should at least separate it, because if I'm paying you millions of dollars and this is the image you're giving, like there's got to be somewhere where we got to draw the line. I know it's your right, but it's like if I'm paying you this money, I expect you to at least follow the guidelines we had set for you when you signed this contract.
And Marlon, I'm not saying you're wrong, but the Second Amendment is not going to allow that.
Yeah, I know.
I'm not saying you're wrong, because some of them young dumb cats don't need guns.
They really don't, like you said.
But for the majority of them, Marlon, think about it. For the majority of them cats, they don't really get in trouble.
You're right, especially the ones that
broke because my cousin told me that his sister-in-law's sister said that I should invest this $100 million. That I think that is more predominant than these cats getting in trouble over some foolishness.
Yeah, to go to the mall, King, and then start some shit at the mall with people. Come on, man. Like, really?
And you in Memphis 10? Man, you don't know who that 17-year-old is connected to?
Exactly. I don't even know. That's what I'm like.
Look, and I work in Baltimore. I am very careful about how I talk to people and how I act.
Oh no, you're right, because like you said, you don't know who they know. So the next thing
and
the next thing,
right?
They waiting for you. They waiting for you at the game. They waiting for you every time you come out the game in Memphis. Right. They waiting.
And the perception of disrespect carries a lot of weight, because somebody can feel like you disrespected them.
Yeah.
And then they will go to the extreme, and you didn't do nothing. And in your mind, you didn't disrespect them. Right. So I mean, I get it. I understand. But there has to be a level of tolerance and understanding for the next man.
So Hughes, do you think that his manhood was being challenged, or that he has to, to show that he's this tough guy since he's the one who's making the money in the NBA?
Yeah, I think
that's
a good question. That's a good question. Hughes, you think so?
Yeah, but like I said, I don't think everything go to the top. Because the way he doing it is crazy, man. It's almost like, what's the guy that played for the New England Patriots? The tight.
You talking about Aaron Hernandez when he had that?
Yeah, Aaron Hernandez.
Hernandez had multiples. Yeah, Hernandez had multiples. Multiple run-ins. I ain't gonna say multiple charges. He had multiple run-ins.
And he was putting in work too.
Right, but that wasn't. I use you right, but I don't think that was tied to an entourage. I never heard them talk about anybody
Yeah, I
else
think
being
that was something. I
involved
think
with
that
this
was
stuff that he
something
was
else with
doing.
him. Yeah, I think that was something personal. He was that he.
That's him.
Yeah, going through with, and he was trying to show his toughness. So he went and hired guns and did that crazy shenanigans and lost all that money.
And I mean, it's sad. It's really sad that we, as a society, have not trained our children to understand the finality of death.
Oh, you're absolutely right, King. And that's what the second part of our subject is, because, like you said, I think it comes to where if you guys are parents and, if you're parents and your kid, you see the success and you're pushing your kid every day to, become great and get them to the league. There's certain things, and I'm not saying all parents do and all parents don't, but there are certain things, like you were saying, King, that parents need to instill into their kids before you start making all this money. Hey, I'm going to tell you now, like, I've been in your shoes. I've had guys who'll leech on to you and act like they this. And then, next thing you know, they either breaking into cars or beating up girls or doing some other stuff, and you tied to it. So as your father or your mother, I'm just letting you know, be careful of, these things. They was your boys because they covered for you a while back when you did a dumb robbery or petty theft. Yeah, that was then. This is now. You're making hundreds of $millions. You ain't making $10. You're making hundreds of millions of dollars. So you got to be able to, as a parent, I think a lot of parents should have that conversation with those professional athletes before they start getting into that field and say, hey, you guys are going to be in the limelight. You guys are going to be in the spotlight. Everything's going to be on you. So how do you want to do this? Because at the end of the day, it reflects the whole family and it reflects me on what you do. Because they always say your kid's a reflection of yourself. So whatever your kid do, they're going to be like, John Moran, that's your son? Oh, he's doing that? So it's just little things like that I see, and that's just my opinion. But from what I see, that could kind of tarnish.
Yeah, Marlon, you're absolutely right. But Hughes can testify to this, because I need to ask Hughes a question.
Uh-huh.
But when my children leave my house, I am not about to tell you what my child will not do, because I don't know.
Mm.
I know how I raised you, and I know what we instilled in you. But when you leave this house and you get around your mans and them, I don't know what you're gonna do. So Hughes, my question to you is, because I think you were closer to more children and more athletes and more students than I was by the time I ran into you. How many people went to jail for their mans and them?
Woo.
Yeah.
Countless.
Right. Right.
And then the question with that, King, though, the piggyback on how many of their mans will do that for them?
It's sad. It's sad.
Yeah.
Hughes, give me a number, 20, 30, 40, 50. Because I know it's more than 20, because you've been in the business 20 years. You can name one a year.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be at least 40 plus, man.
And think about it, Hughes, if you step back from the non-athlete, how many of them went to jail for their mans and them?
I can't
it's
even
sad. I mean, and Hughes, that's what I was trying to say. It's societal and cultural. Man, that's not cool. That's not cute.
It's not.
But unfortunately, somewhere along the lines, what is that video game that they play where you kill everybody and you keep going through all that?
It's like Grand Theft Auto, that type of stuff. Or when they go,
you don't understand the finality of death, because in the video game you get to play again,
and you get to reset it, and you get the key, go back and do it again.
Take somebody's life, that's it. That's it. That's final. And I don't think that they understand the finality of death.
Now, let me ask you this, King. Being from Memphis, can you say that that's a excuse for Ja's behavior of why he's doing it, or can you just say that anybody can, come from there and then be different than the rest?
No.
Ja's not from. He not from Memphis.
Well, I'm not saying from Memphis, but just being in that area.
Yeah. Marlon,
You think
no.
that rubs off on you, kind of King, from just playing
No.
and being in that area like that, and that can
No.
kind of.
No, there is no excuse.
Okay.
If Ja Morant respects the city and conducts himself in an appropriate manner, they will all love Ja Morant.
Okay.
Now there's gonna be one or two outliers who might try something slick if you got on the what is the drip and the ice
chains and all that. And
yeah. But that's why you have
security
hired bodyguards. You don't have your mans in them.
Yeah, why would you have your mans in there protecting you with like? That's what I don't get. I'm like,
if you think about it, Marlon, Snoop was on trial for murder because his hired bodyguard shot somebody. So if Marlon is my man and I'm Ja Morant and you shoot somebody and you don't have the legal, you don't have the license to carry that weapon, and you're not a legal bodyguard, now you have put me in jeopardy. But those are the boxes that people don't check. Memphis 10, yeah, it's hard scramble. Like I said, look, my whole I got two sides of the family. One side of the family grew up in the Foot homes and the Frazier homes. The other side grew up in Whitehaven. So I got a little bit of both of them, but the level of desperation of people based on what society has placed on them equates to a situation that is dangerous. So I'm not saying you should not carry a gun. That's not what I'm about to say. But what I am about to say is you need to be very careful about the people that you hire to protect you and your man's in them. Not your man's in them. Your man's in them is your man's in them. I don't need you to do all that. I hire people to do that. I made $1 million. I hire people to do that.
Oh no, you're right. That's exactly the point. Because at the end of the day, it's like you said, you got an image to maintain and uphold. You know, now you're not the same guy you were growing up. You know, who used to sit with you in the corner and figure out what we're gonna do next. You the guy that's in the NBA, making a name for yourself, and trying to win championships. And you can't do that with these people here who are like, oh yeah, man, let's go do this stupid stuff that we did before. And it's like, I think somewhere along the line, he has to grow out of that childish phase that he's in. You know what I'm saying? Because like you said, when people who ain't never had money before get money, now all of a sudden now it's a whole different atmosphere of how things go. I got money now I can go buck wild. It's like people hitting the lottery. And then as soon as they hit the lottery, now they this whole different person.
Marlon, when you get money, one or two things happen. If you're not used to having money, you either you real tight with your money because you're not used to having money and you scared of going back to being broke. The other thing that happens is you lose your mind. I can think about NBA players, NFL players who went bankrupt because they did not understand how to manage the money. Because you're not used to having no money to manage. And it's scary, but that's the reality of it.
Yeah, no, you're right. And that's something. And I think what it should come to is, I think when it comes to the NBA contracts, I think they should give them the set amount. And then when they hit, a certain like mature age, give them the full amount. I'm not saying don't pay them their full amount with their guarantee, but give it to them in increments. Because if you start giving it to them all at once, they're going to go, like you said, they're going to go buck wild to it. They're going to be like, I got all this.
Marlon, you can't hold my money.
Now, I ain't saying hold it, King, but I am saying like,
I get mature.
I ain't saying hold it. Okay. I ain't saying hold it, but at least give it to them in portions. If you're going to, it's your money.
Because that's what Reebok did with Allen Iverson. Brilliant.
You see what I'm saying, King? Isn't that smart?
But also give him portions, but LeBron got his money and didn't mess it up. Kobe got his money and didn't mess it up. Yeah. Mike got his money. So people, when are you going to decide as an organization that I'm mature enough to handle my money? So the level of maturity is different. It might take somebody, I don't know, 5 years to need to be mature. But you might have that cat that is mature enough to take care of their money right now. Now I don't need no help. So I mean, I hear what you're saying. You're trying to protect people from themselves.
Yeah, and I think, and like you said, I think there's different ways that they could go about doing that works for everybody in the NBA or whatever league, like NFL or MLB or whatever. And I think that that's what can save them from themselves, because I think that will humble you a little bit more. And I think that can kind of mature you a little bit more, because now you're going to start thinking a lot better that, yo, if I got this money on me, I know I can't, go back to, trying to hustle and be on the streets and, run the streets like I was before, because I don't need to. But for somewhere along the line, I just think those 2 days that the NBA gave him off, I don't think, to me, that was enough time to reflect on the situation that he was dealt with. That's just me, because I think that there's a lot. I think it might be a mental health thing with it. I'm not saying something's wrong with him, but that could be a little portion of it, because sometimes there are certain things that people say or do that makes them hash out or reflect or act the way that they do because of, like we were talking about earlier, the circle that they're with. People could put stuff in your head. Hey, man, you remember when you used to be the guy that used to always go beat up people? I used to be like, hey, yo, Ja, go handle my lightweight. Now in his mindset, he's that guy that, was in high school with the tough macho guy. And now that he got this money, he's like, I can't, be weak and show weakness in front of my boys. Like, you know what I'm saying? I gotta show that I'm still Ja from the, the hood. And that's why I kind of think that, like they say, you can't take the hood out of people, okay, but you can take them out the hood. So it's like, I just think he's always gonna have that tough, like, I gotta show my self demeanor. And eventually on the line, that's gonna catch up with him, because Josh Gordon was another one. Ray Lewis was a hothead. All those guys that was hotheads had to learn the hard way about what it took to bounce back to get back to where they're at now.
I can appreciate what Jalen Rose said. Jalen Rose said, I was that guy.
See, and when you can admit that, King, that's the first step to doing. I think Morant needs to say, hey, I'm that guy, and I need to work on myself
Is
first.
he that guy?
That's the thing. You're right. That's a good question.
Yeah. I mean, and I don't know Ja Morant.
We don't, but like I said, but from what we've read and from what we've seen, it's like 2 incidents.
Yeah, but all that is in the past, what, 3-4 years? What happened at Murray State?
Yeah,
I'm not hip to anything that happened at Murray State, because your mans and them didn't go to Murray State.
You're right, exactly. They didn't go with you to Murray State. They ain't try.
I don't know, and I don't know. Let me be honest. I don't know who the real Ja Morant is.
You're right. A lot of us
Morant knows that. And he's gonna have to come to grips with, who am I as a person, not as a product of my environment.
You're right, and I think he needs to ask himself this too, King. I think he needs to ask himself, is this the way I want to continue to keep going, moving forward? Because if it is, I know I'm not going to be in the league as much longer as I think I am. You know what I'm saying? Because like I was telling you, I'm looking it up now. He's 25, King. So he's been in the league for about 6 years. So he came in the league in 19. So I'm like, been in the league for 6 years now, man. I'm like, so you got to be smart enough to know, like, 6 years.
Why you got to be smart enough? Or do you expect him to be smart?
You're right. Let me take that back. I expect him to be smart enough after those 6 years to, understand that, man, I could, I can be better than, everybody is seeing me be if I just stick to, the I guess you could say the blueprint that was laid out for me when it came for me to making the league or getting drafted into the league.
Mm-hmm. And like I said, I don't know the young man. And was that league imposed 2 games off?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they did. The league did that because they felt that it would be good for him and the league, so that way they don't think that they condone the fact that he had a gun on his
so
side.
If the league had to give you a couple of games off, a couple of days off, a week off, or whatever, and you didn't realize you needed a couple of games off or a week off, what did that say?
Yeah.
I mean, and I'm 54 years old. I could be self-reflective.
Mm-hmm.
But at 24, 25,
mm-hmm.
I'm not willing to tell that lie that I would be self-reflective.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe this is a moment for him to be self-reflective.
Mm-hmm.
about what he's doing and how he's doing it.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't honestly say that, because when Gilbert Arenas, didn't Gilbert Arenas pull a gun in the locker room on somebody?
Yeah,
He wasn't
he put it in
25.
he put it in his gym bag. He was 31, 32, putting it in his gym bag.
So he wasn't mature enough to handle the situation.
Well,
So
you're right. I see it.
It's hard.
So do you think that the NBA should kind of come up with like certain things when it comes to dealing with athletes and knowing how they have a gun? Because like you said, it's not that we're going to get rid of the right to bear arms, but they should be able to come up with something that should at least alleviate, you know what I'm saying, the distractions of knowing that you have a gun in the locker room or in the presence of the teams.
The National Rifle Association is not going for that.
Because that's what I'm thinking. Because like you said,
the NRA is not going to allow the NBA to say that Marlon cannot carry his firearm, because that is his constitutional right. So I think the NBA is stuck. It's like, I don't know what we can do except, like Roddy Goodell, quote unquote, protect the shield.
Yeah, and it's like, what
so
shield is he
there
talking?
may be some language that you could put in the contract that says, while you do have a right to bear arms, you cannot take that gun to other states because other states' gun laws are different.
Yeah, or something like that.
Some language to put in contracts.
Or what you could say is, you could say, if you do have that gun, like keep it in your, wherever you have in your car, or the car you came in, or you know what I'm saying, the jet you flew in on, or the bus keep it there. You know what I'm saying? When we get in the States, they're, leave them where they at. Don't even think about it. And the people that you're with, you need to let them know that these are the do's and don'ts, of this policy.
Those people didn't sign my contract. I got nothing to do with them.
No, I get that part. I'm just saying from personal.
That's my pushback to you.
Yeah, I'm getting from personal standpoint.
I can't tell my man to not have no gun. They ain't signed this contract.
With a personal standpoint,
I wouldn't have a gun.
Yeah.
So it is an ugly catch-22.
It really is.
And I mean, it's sad. It's sad.
And like you said, I wish the best for everybody, because like I said, because, growing up, from your era to my dad's era, it was like, there weren't really that many guns out back in the day. Now it's like every single day, you can find a gun just walking outside and turning to the right and there's a gun. It's like...
Yeah. I mean, look, when I was growing up, man, the worst thing somebody had was a box cutter. Do you know what a box cutter is?
Yeah, the razor box that they use to open up.
Yeah, that's the worst thing somebody had. Man, no gun. But like I said, I'm 54 years old and times have changed. And I think times have changed because this is not an NBA issue, an NFL issue.
No, you're right. This is
a society
issue. Exactly.
So why does his entourage feel the need to walk around with guns?
Yeah, exactly.
Because when they came up, if you had no gun, then what might happen?
Yeah, you are. And then, like you said, and then what's so funny is, King, to end it off like this, I always feel that, now that you moved away from that, that lifestyle that that you had to live in, that dealt with you having to carry a gun because you never knew what was going to happen looking over your shoulder. I think that, from him moving from wherever he came from and then going to an area that, dealt with, society, dealing with guns and stuff, I think that he should have been able to, distance himself from that and say, hey, I like Memphis. I love Memphis. I'm going to have my big house here, and I ain't going to let the riffraff follow me to where I'm going at, because, I'm the lucky one that made it out of everybody that was, where I'm from. So I should be able to be smart enough, or, I would think I should be smart enough to, stay out of trouble and do it for those who supported me since day one. But a lot of athletes, like you said, I think that comes with time. And I think with Ja Morant, I think he needs a lot more time to self-reflect. I just don't think the 2 games that he has is enough time. I just think that that's just giving him 2 days off, and then he's going to go back and think of some other, messed up or domestic type of stuff to find out or get into, because that's just who he is.
But is that who he is?
I think that's part of who he is from what we've seen. But like you said, I don't know. We don't know him personally, but what we've seen, I think that's a part of him that he's been trying to hide for a while now. And I think that now that he came back around his best friends and, you know, his dad's side of the family and a certain amount of his college buddies. I think now, though, he brought back, you know, the person who Ja was and not the person who he is now. And I think those two kind of mixed, and that's where it kind of led to the decisions that he made when it came to carrying a gun and then getting in the fights and doing the stuff he did.
So, do you think 5 years in Memphis 10 has had an effect on him as far as how to protect yourself, how to carry yourself, what to do, what not to do?
I mean, I think it can, King, a little bit, only because it's like you said, it's like the area you're in, you know, you got to make the best of the area that you're in, you know, with what is given to you, you know, the cards that were dealt. And like you said, I'm not from Memphis. I don't know what goes on out in Memphis. I don't know how it happens. I can only go off of research and what people tell me. But if you come into an atmosphere like that, and you've been in the atmosphere for more than a long time, I think you start adjusting or adapting to the way that society lives. You know, that's just from me, from what I see from my standpoint, King, because knowing me moving from Texas to DC, I had to start learning how to live and adapt to the way the culture that the DMV brings. So I think I think the Memphis, the area that he's with, and the friends that he with are rubbing off on him a little bit. And I think that's what's making him go back to being this Ja that we've never seen before or heard about before a day in our lives until just last week and 3 days ago. So
why do you think Kevin Durant said he would not play for the Wizards?
I think the reason why Kevin Durant said he wouldn't play for, and in my opinion, I think it's because, like you said, the area that how DC is. You know, if you're from DC and you know DC and you know the area, I kind of feel like you know what to expect. You know, being because it's just like back in the day. You know, what was the Wizards called? The Washington Bullets. You know, so a lot of stuff. You know, like you said, the area you're from, it kind of can, you know, hold you back from being, you know, who you are. And we're not saying it's gonna, you know, you can't, you know, show respect to your area and show love, but don't let the area that, you know, raised you or the environment that you in, you know, change you from this person that everybody expected you to be to now this person that nobody's even heard of or seen. Because like you said, Kevin Durant, we wouldn't have known he was from the DMV area the way that he presents himself in the league now, unless, you know, you knew him personally in DC or Largo or Seat Pleasant or where he's from.
So let's push on that a little bit. Do you think he did not want to come here because there were people that he grew up with that would lead him or could possibly lead him down the same path that Ja Morant went?
I feel that 100%, King. I back the yes. I feel that. I feel that if Kevin Durant, when he first came into the league when he was younger, not now, would have came into DC when his contract was up, I think that DC would have stopped him from being who he was. Only because his family and his friends that knew him when he was growing up are going to try to bring him back to the Kevin that we don't know. You know what I'm saying? And I think that that's where Kevin is probably took the time to reflect and said, you know what? I got so much greatness going. You know, I got $150 million Nike deal. You know what I'm saying? I got 3 NBA championships, you know. So it's just a lot of stuff, King, that he has to reflect and say, okay, so do I want to be this guy that everybody looks up to, or do I want to be the guy that everybody talks about?
But wait a minute. We're not talking about Kevin Durant now with rings. Take it back to Kevin Durant when they left Seattle, or when he had the opportunity to get out of OKC. He's like, man, I'm not going back home. Do you think that was a conscious decision because them cats I came up with back home?
Yeah, I think so. 100%.
Okay. So Ja Morant, at this stage of his life, and damn his career.
Yeah.
Let's do when you talk basketball. Let's talk about you, young man.
Mm-hmm.
At this point in his life, do you think a week off is going to have him come to grips like, you know what, man?
No.
How long would it take, then? A week ain't enough?
No,
I think you send him to the playoffs. You'll give him 2 weeks. What you
I think to me, Hugh. I mean, to me, King. I think it might be, you know, I think it might take a couple months. Who knows? Because everybody has different time frames of how they heal and how they reflect and how they, you know, evaluate things. And I think with Ja, I just think the 2 days is just for him to just go and do some other, unnecessary crazy stuff with his crew that he has, and then
So
get ready for the next game.
so let's go back to your point about playing with my money. We're gonna
Yeah.
give you X amount for the first year, X amount for the second. So when you gonna decide to give me my money? Based on what you just said,
Mm-hmm.
we don't even know if okay, at the end of this year, you get these, I don't know, let's just make up a number, $10 million.
Mm-hmm.
And if you get these $10 million and you don't took this week off, these 2 weeks off, what then? So that my whole thing about it is it makes sense for the player to defer payments. You know about the Barry Bonds Day. What is Barry Bonds Day? What, May 1?
Yeah, that was just
Every May 1st, Barry Bonds gets $1 million. Brilliant. I don't care what you did and what happened. He knows, and everybody knows, probably for like another 13 years, you are going to get this $1 million May 1st. Brilliant. And when it happened, everybody was like, what is he talking about? Now you see. Reebok did the same thing for Iverson. Now we're not going to we're going to give you some of this money. Now we're not about to give you all this money. But when you hit 50, bam. Brilliant. So I think there has to be a level of, and I don't want to use intelligence. I want a level of supervision, a level of consultation. Right, look, Marlon, NBA money is guaranteed. You've been in the league 5 years. They about to give you a 5-year contract for $250 million.
Which you already know about 80 million is guaranteed out of that for sure until you play those four.
So let's take $40 million, put this in the money market, and just let that earn interest. And don't even touch it. I saw a funny story, but I thought about you last week. Chad Ochocinco Johnson said for the first 2 years of his contract, he lived in the Cincinnati Bengals facility. I was like, that's ridiculous. What are you talking about? He said, man, because it was free. Everything I needed was in that facility. A place to stay, somebody to take a shower, somewhere to eat. He lived in it. He said, man, 2 years in, Marvin Lewis told him, son, you can't live here. Go get you an apartment somewhere. But that is the level of, I ain't never had no money. I'm not about to lose no money and waste no money. And instead of on the other end, where you had cats that go broke.
Oh, you're absolutely right, man. I've seen.
So when I saw that story, he was talking to Shannon Sharp. I saw that story, I just bust out laughing because I had heard the story. I was like, man, you lying? That man ain't lived in no stadium. Like the little commercial with Baker Mayfield. That man ain't lived in no stadium. Man, y'all stop it. Yes, he did. He said Marvin Lewis told me I couldn't live in the stadium no more. Yeah, I mean, but
I'm with you, and I see that.
But speaks to the mentality of each individual person. So there was no need to hold his money. He gonna hold it.
Yeah, he was smart. Exactly. And I think, like you were saying earlier, I think whoever job or whoever you surround yourself with, if they know what you make, you need to be able to trust them enough to say, hey, this is the money I'm making. This is where we at right now. We on a different level. We ain't where we used to be at, where we had to ever need or want for anything. Now we can get whatever we want. So we need to have a different mindset. We can't go out here and be, beating up kids and knocking off cars and breaking windows and doing childish stuff.
But you're trying to change a mindset that has been built over 20 years.
Yeah, you're right. I think, but you don't think that
you are absolutely right. There needs to be that conversation.
Because you don't think
that conversation needs to be, okay, I got $250 million guaranteed. 30% that goes to the feds.
But do you think
I'm not getting this $250 million? Let's start with
that money can change your mindset, or do you think that kind of ruins the mindset that people get when they come into the leagues?
It depends on the person. It depends on the person. That's why I understand what you said, man. Sometimes, man, look, we're gonna prorate your salary. All this is guaranteed, but we're gonna give you this over the course of 10 years. But some people mature faster than other people. No, man, give me my money. Quit playing. And then some people be like, nah, dog, if I give you this money, you're going to lose your mind. You know it and I know it. Nah, I'm good. My man's like I said, look at LeBron. Came to the league at 18. Ain't never picked up a charge.
That's what I'm saying. I don't understand
And
that.
Akron ain't nothing nice either. But he ain't never picked up no charge. They never got
But you
no
gotta think about
trouble.
it. LeBron had a what? He had a different what was it like mindset coming? Because I don't know how Akron was, but you see how humble he is. He didn't
But that's my point, Mark. It's the individual.
Yeah, because it was just him and his single mom. You know what I'm saying?
And we trying to come up. So my man, who I went to high school with, now you're gonna be my manager. We gonna have this conversation, and they put it together.
Now, do you think that his dad or his parent has an effect on the decision he'd make as far as hanging with this crowd that he's with, or do you kind of think that
that
was his job choice? Huh?
You talk Ja LeBron.
I'm talking about for Ja. I'm saying the decision that he made as far as like the crew that he was on. Because like you said, King, parents do play a little part in that, and I'm not saying they play a major part, but they do have some reflection and input on their child depending on certain situations or circumstances.
I never touched $1 million. Mm-hmm. But growing up, there were certain people my mom was like, "Boy, watch him." Mm-hmm. Or don't hang with him. Mm-hmm. I'm like, "Mom, no, that's my man, blah, blah, blah." She's like, "So I'm telling you what I see." Mm-hmm. But there had to be a level of back and forth and trust between parent and child, between this is what I see and you don't see it because that's your man.
And you're right. And you see, it's kind of like driving, King. You know how you miss your blind spots, you don't see it. It's certain things that, parents can see that kids don't see. You know what I'm saying? And that sometimes as a kid and, and as a child, we have to learn that our parents aren't just doing it just to, because they don't want us to have fun or.
I ain't got nothing else to do. I got other stuff to do.
Yeah. We're doing this because we want the best for you. And this path that this person is taking you down is not the best for you. You know what I'm saying?
I can see where it's going. I'm trying to help you.
Exactly. But you know how kids are like, because you gotta think about kids. We were once young, when you rebel, I ain't about to listen to my mom and now I'm a rebel and do that. And then look at how that turned out when you did that.
You're talking about. Yeah, you're right.
You know what I'm saying?
It's 7:27 now. The Knicks coming on in 3 minutes now.
I got you. I'm at the end of it here.
Look.
I'm with you because I think I want to watch too. I'm with you.
Tonight. We 38-27. We only won 37 games last year.
Y'all gonna get the 40 games, like 48. I can see it. What are you telling me?
Look, the Brunson effect is worth 10 games. And when Charles Barkley was talking about that's the greatest free agent franchise, free agent signing in history. Look, I'm a Knicks fan, so I'm with you, but that's the best one this year.
No, you're right. And then to add those pieces to that Knicks team,
that's worth 10 games. If that's worth 10 games, we go from 37 wins to 47 wins. Oh, yeah.
And then you give me help and you adding pieces to help me out along the way so I don't have to do so much.
Look, that's what I told Hughes. I would trade R.J. Barrett the first and the second rounder for Bradley Beal. Man, you have Bradley Beal on one side, you have Randall on the other side, you have Brunson running the point.
You got Hart coming too. Then you got them guys. You got Quickly on the other side. So you know what I'm saying. You got that white boy Harkenstein. So
look, and Quickly is from Harford County,
right there
above Baltimore.
Oh, I didn't know that. Oh wow.
Yeah. I found it out recently. Yeah, because he went to Kentucky for a year, then went straight to the league.
Oh wow. Yeah, I knew that part, but I didn't know he was from Hartford. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, guys, with that being said, we love you guys for watching. We're going to continue to get more consistent and bring you guys more shows. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and enjoy this Knicks and Celtics game. We want you guys to enjoy the Knicks and Celtics game. And we will see you guys next Sunday with all new, fresh ideas and topics. We love you. Have a good rest of the evening.
All right, everybody be good. Go Knicks!
Exactly. Go Knicks.